Hi, I'm Aaron Collins. Welcome to Paranormal Crossings' third annual Halloween special, and we're filmed today before a live studio audience here in Gresham, Oregon. Today my co-host is Christina, my wife.
Hello.
So our first guest, please welcome Oregon Paranormal. All right, so to my left we have Jay Verberg. You might recognize him from the Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Mine, or never mind. So,
thank you for cutting that one short.
yeah, absolutely. So, and next to him is Casey Goodwin. Casey, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. And Katie Montana Jordan. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you for being
Thank
here
you
as
for
well.
having us.
All right. So you guys doing okay? How's everything going with the group?
Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now it's just poor gamble, just preparing presentations and just trying to get it all figured out.
Now, how many paranormal cons do you do? I mean, I know the Ghost Conference in now Seaside, the Oregon Ghost Conference, now the Port Gamble, and then any others
That's
that you're
pretty
involved
much
in?
it. Every once in a while we may do an event here and there, but for the most part it's so consuming doing those two events that it takes so much away from any of the research that we do.
Yeah. And every now and then I might travel to another convention or an event or private investigation or something like that. But as Oregon Paranormal, we're pretty busy with the two conventions that we do, along with investigations and things like that.
Now, how many investigations would you say you do a year?
Maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
And then take us through a paranormal investigation. Let's say someone calls you from a private residence. What's your MO from there? What do you normally
Take
do?
it, Casey. This is all you.
I'm going to give it to Katie because Katie starts with
Katie.
a phone call.
Okay. It's all
Yeah.
there.
So I'm our occult specialist as well as our client relations consultant. So that means that between all of our calls and emails that we get, Casey goes through them and he decides which ones are going to be more crucial, which ones are more time sensitive. For example, if there's a call where a child is involved and if the parent is concerned about the child's welfare. So Casey directs me on whom to contact, and as a client relations consultant, I am the first direct communication with a potential client that the potential client has within our organization. So I call or I email, and my job is basically just to listen and validate and offer any solutions or answer any questions. And then at the end of that discussion, I take my notes to the boys, and then we sit down and decide if the situation calls for a meet and greet. So that's what we call our witness interview, in which case we go to the location and we actually meet with a potential client, and then we come home and we meet up again and we decide if at that case that the situation warrants a full-scale investigation or not.
Have you ever had a case where you thought, oh my gosh, this is too much, this isn't something that we're well equipped to do, and had to turn it away or turn over to another group?
No, never.
No?
Every once in a while we'll reach out to somebody if we have a lot of outside consultants. Matter of fact, William Becker out there in the audience, he's one of our outside consultants, but we also work with Neil McNeil, Michael White, Ben Robison, and Nicole Robison. So we have a pretty good network of outside consultants. When it comes to some things that may not be part of our skill set, we may bring somebody in and say, hey, like especially with Michael White and Neil McNeil and the parapsychological end, we'll bring somebody in if it pertains to something like PK manifestations and things like that.
Now, was there something that was just amazing that got you into the paranormal in the first place? I know your story, but let's go ahead and hear it anyways. Tell us how you got into paranormal investigating.
Well, I mean, as far as investigating, I really got sucked in after the first season of Ghost Mine, and was introduced to some folks in the field who I didn't realize this all still really happened. I thought we grew up and didn't do this stuff anymore.
You were on a show?
Yeah. I was on Ghost Adventures.
That's my favorite.
I know. I stopped working out though a long time ago.
The shirts are a lot looser now.
Yeah. So I had my experiences when I was a kid, about 14. Always a big believer. Did a lot of reading on Ouija boards and the history of all that. And about the time you start growing up, you get married, you have kids, it all just kind of leaves you behind, and I went about my life. once I got on the show, I was introduced to a whole community that is involved with this, and that's what really kickstarted me back into it. Working with Oregon Paranormal and ASAP and PRI up in Washington, we're all very similar minded. So, we'll have different views of the paranormal, but we all share a common denominator of really trying to look at the data and the information and things like that. So it was just kind of a good fit. In fact, my first residential investigation was with Ben and Casey after the show. Wow. And that was an eye-opener, because I'd gone to a lot of events, and you go to historically rich locations and you're investigating these places, and it's dark and creepy and spooky, and here we pull up to some guy's house. They have a family, children, and just the responsibility you have all of a sudden really made a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
So, in fact, that's because we do such a small number of investigations every year, working with Michael and Neil and Ben and William over there. Throughout the year, we'll do a series of experiments or different tests or studies, things like that. So we're always working, but that responsibility when you have a private home is so great. We take our time and we go through it, and we're reviewing everything and the background checks and the historical research. All of that kind of goes into a full investigation, which is why we do so few residential investigations every year.
Yeah.
And it makes it that much more intimate too, and we're able to give our clientele that much more one-on-one time and energy, and that's what it's all about.
Not like sexy intimate.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Do you keep contact after the investigation's over
Absolutely.
and kind of check up on the residents?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
sometimes I'll call to check in if I'm concerned about them, or after a while, even some of our clients, I develop such a relationship with them because they're calling me and essentially telling me their secrets, and it's very personal, and so we connect with each other on a very raw, organic level that way. So these people tend to stay in my life afterwards, which is pretty nice. So we actually have a client, we went out to her house not too long ago for a second investigation, and she still calls and texts and emails just to check in and say hi and let me know about what she's got going on in the house or what she had for lunch that day. So it's an honor. Yeah, we're tight now.
Does she invite you out to lunch though?
Not yet,
Hello.
right?
But she does make us
Maybe
all
she
sorts of
doesn't
good
like me.
snacks
Oh my
and
God,
stuff
man,
when we go out to
she's-
investigate.
She fed us both investigations. We told her, you don't have to do this. She's like, no.
Yeah.
Can I get that address real quick?
Yeah.
So, walk me through one of. I've never asked you this, and I've known
Yeah.
you for a few years now.
Yeah.
What was it like being in those mines?
the
Has anybody
best.
here seen Ghost Mine? All right, so
Nobody's raising
you
their
recognize
hand,
this guy? Okay, so you know that he wasn't an investigator on the show?
Yeah.
Okay, but what was it like just walking into one of those mines?
It's a whole nother world. It's amazing. I would be back there in a heartbeat.
Wow.
Every time you blast that rock away from the face you're working, you're seeing something that no one was ever supposed to see. It's rocks and minerals that have been there since the Earth was formed, or since they were formed through
Gotta be
volcanic.
incredible.
Yeah, so you're seeing something that no one literally is ever going to see.
Wow.
And at the same time, it becomes your own little world down in there. It's always the same temperature. It's always dark. It's always the same. We'd go in, it'd be nice and sunny outside, and you walk in, it's 42 degrees, it's wet,
Wow.
and it's dark, and you come out a few hours later, and it's snowing out there.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, you never know what's going on
Is this
outside the
Northern
line.
California?
No, this is in Eastern Oregon,
Eastern
on the
Oregon?
border of Idaho, very close.
Yeah, Northern California is the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been through a lot of mines down in Redding.
Hmm
Oh,
I
love
lived
that.
right near there for several years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Bernie, California.
Okay.
Yeah.
I probably snuck into some of those mines around there.
Probably.
Did it all over the place out there.
Oh yeah, it's
But I-
beautiful, beautiful country.
So, of course, that being the case, I still get into mines every now and then.
Nice.
Never trespassing. No trespassing. It's against law.
All right.
But yeah, I absolutely loved it.
Did you
And-
have paranormal activity in some of the mines that you experienced?
You know what? It's funny because your mind is already prepped going in there when you start mining, and they're telling you right off the bat it's haunted. Something's going on in there. So, and that's been one of the fascinating things for me to research, is just how the human mind works with the information you're given. With, if no one had ever told us it was haunted, would we have experienced anything? Could we have that many people in a small space surrounded by courts? Could we have caused the mind to be haunted? Could we have manifested that ourselves? I don't know. And then, of course, looking back, the moments that did scare me, I have to question, was my imagination running wild with such a small sound that I heard and I didn't know what to do with it, you know?
Right.
So your mind interprets it as fear, and you just got to get out.
Right.
So, but then you get the Tommy knockers and the old timers talking about their thing. Oh, if you hear that, you got to get out. So you know,
Right.
okay, let's get out.
So Casey, how did you get into the paranormal?
I grew up in Southern California on a healthy dose of Leonard Nimoy on In Search Of and
Oh,
Robert
yeah.
Stack and Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
And just that, that little pocket of Whittier, California, it's a suburb of Los Angeles. I mean, there are hundreds of stories of, hauntings and car wrecks going off canyons and things, that it really piqued my interest. And this was probably back in '93 when I finally got started doing my own research. We went into this canyon. It's notorious. It kind of separates Hacienda Heights from Whittier, and it's called Turnbull Canyon. And it's known for car accidents and plane crashes. And there's this one particular house. It's what's left of it after a big fire, I think, that took it down back in the 70s, but the footprint of the house is still there. So we had heard about these stories of this haunting because I think the story was the child never got out of the house.
Oh.
And the child being the infant.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so, of course, you go there at a specific time, and then the wind blows through the trees, and then the frogs start. So it was all these steps before you would get to whatever the claims were. And we staked that place out for, I don't know, probably about 10 hours. And not a thing happened. But
Imagine that.
it was enough that it fueled that curiosity. And it's the next thing we're going to like the Knickerbocker Hotel in Hollywood. And it was around the same time that Linda Vista had closed down, so we would hang out there.
Wow.
And, if my mom knew this kind of stuff now,
Of course.
then, because Linda Vista's in Boyle Heights, it's not a very good area. But
Yeah.
we're stupid kids and we wanted to find ghosts.
Right.
So it wasn't until I got up here in about 2003, 2004, I started talking with my buddy Scott, who we co-founded Oregon Paranormal with in 2009. But it was kind of a back and forth for several years before we actually made something happen and got the organized group together.
The one thing that I'll say about this group is I have never met another group that is so well organized and orchestrated and put together.
Thank you.
I mean, just in the conversations you and I had a situation where a gentleman contacted me and it was beyond my expertise. So I reached out to Casey, and it turns out the same person had reached out to them as well. And so just hearing and seeing, the notes that you had sent me, I mean, it's just so well done. And so I think that's
Mostly
great.
my doing, I think.
Thank you, Jay. Yes.
When we first started the group, it was one of those things where it's like, we wanted to investigate all these things, and we were straight up just one of the ghost hunting teams that you would see, pop up here and there. And then after a while, when we started working with clients, we started realizing that there was a bigger picture to all of this, and we realized that, well, these people really need our help. We can't just go in, collect evidence, and then go home.
Right.
So we really started getting into a more research-oriented, data-driven, to the point where we're tracking weather patterns now, and we're looking at like barometric pressure for the entire month. And we've got the clients; they're taking down notes anytime they have an experience. We have them compile it for about 2, maybe 3 months before we actually go in. That way, we've got 3 months worth of their data because they spend more time in the house than we do. Wow. And then we kind of compile that and we match it up with, what was the weather doing that day? What was their mindset like? So we're trying to also throw in some things that the parapsychology communities are doing, and really getting into the mindset of the clients.
And that taking notes prior to the investigation is so important, because oftentimes when people are going through experiences, they aren't really paying attention to what's going on around them. What time is it? Where were you in the house? Something scary just happens, and then they go, yeah, every night something creepy happens.
Right.
But once you ask them to start taking notes, then you can kind of go through it and you say, oh, So if we were going to go investigate, we might show up at 9 o'clock at night when everybody's settling down, but it says through all the notes that every night at 7 is when something weird happens. So of course we're not going to get anything, and now we at least have the knowledge to, hey, let's show up a little bit early, just sit and observe, see what's going on.
To give you a good idea, our last investigation spanned about 8 months, and that garnered us about 100 gigabytes worth of data.
Wow.
Which is incredible. We've
Wow.
got a lot of solid state hard drives now because we just have to back them up all the time. There's just so much information now
My
that we
gosh.
didn't bank on originally when
Right.
we started this group. So
Well, and we want to do that so that if we ever capture anything, we can sell it to.
absolutely,
you know.
the highest bidder,
Yeah.
TMZ, you know.
There
Yeah.
you go. Do I hear a bidder out there now? No. So we just have a few minutes left, but I was hoping that you could tell us, you might all have a different story, but what is the scariest investigation that you've been on? As far as maybe it was scary at the time you were there or something that you captured. Can you think of anything in particular? I know you sent me a couple of EVPs. I wasn't able to bring them today.
No,
but,
no worries. I don't think I've ever been in a scary situation, maybe some startling situations because it was things that we hadn't picked up on during interviews that happened. Trying to think.
You had that one where the guy was coming down the hall at you.
Yeah, that was the startling one. We were doing this investigation in Eagle Creek, Oregon, and it was probably about maybe a 700 or 800 square foot house. I mean, it was a
pretty
closet.
small. Yeah.
And tons of red flags. This was back when when we didn't have quite the vetting process we have now. But we went there, and we had never at any point met with any of the clients. And we get there, and we find out about the secret military base in the backyard, which was underground. So we had already set up everything. And we figured, okay, well, we're here. We might as well just humor them. And they left us with the house. And about 10 hours into the investigation, we got to a point where we kind of shut down the investigation mode and we just kind of start bantering back and forth because we noticed that a lot of times when you do that, that's when things happen because now all of a sudden the focus is off of the person we're there focusing
Yeah,
on.
right.
And I was leaning up against a threshold in this, it was kind of in between the kitchen and the hallway going to the bedroom and the bathroom. And the hallway was maybe 7 or 8 feet long. And we started talking about the dynamic in the family, and whatever it was offended whatever was there. And all of a sudden, there was this intense static electrical feel, and then this intense heat. And then all of a sudden, I hear footsteps running down the hallway.
Oh, geez.
And it was, you could hear them on the carpet, you could feel them in the floorboards. Scott could hear it. And then as soon as it rushed through me, you could feel the charge. But the nice part about that was every piece of equipment that we had recorded some portion of that environmental change. So we had EMF spikes, we had temperature spikes, and then after the event, the room got completely cold
Wow.
by about 10 or 15 degrees. And then everything normalized.
I have had that happen.
So it's
And
interesting.
that electrical charge, I'm so happy to hear you say that wasn't just me.
Yeah.
So we only have a few seconds left. Tell the audience, how can someone get a hold of you in case they have some issues and need to get a hold of Oregon Paranormal? And we'll flash that on the screen as well.
OregonParanormal.com, haunted@OregonParanormal.com is our main email. They can find us on Facebook. They can find us on Twitter. She's the Twitter queen. She every I think Monday or so, my phone blows up because she's just on there going nuts. But yeah,
Awesome.
we're pretty much on all the social networks. And
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming out. I
Thanks
really
for having us.
appreciate it,
Thank you.
and I couldn't ask for a better group to come out together.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
I
that.
really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, it's
Thank
great
you.
seeing you guys.
Good to see you guys.
All right, thank you.
much.
All right, let's hear it for Oregon Paranormal.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay, for our next guests, before I introduce them, I want to show you a little clip from a trailer from a movie coming out next year. Can we watch that clip?
The PEK became a folk phenomenon in 1998. After increasing reports of sinister encounters with black-eyed kids seeking entry into a victim's vehicle or home and conjuring an overwhelming sense of fear and panic. Considered harbingers of ill will and personal doom, they often appear in pairs. While little is known about them, one thing is clear. Never let them in.
That
All right.
looks
So
scary.
I am so excited for this movie. So let me introduce my guests. We have Alyssa Graybill.
Alisa, hi.
Alisa, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
And Augustina Elizabeth.
Yes, hi.
And so thank you for coming. And so you are the writer, director, producer, and everything.
I'm the writer and I'm the director. I didn't
Okay.
produce on this.
Okay.
Tim Kroll and Katie Daly produced on it, thank
Awesome.
goodness.
And so before we get into the meat and potatoes,
Yeah.
what made you write this in the first place?
Well, I have a master's in screenwriting from USC, and so I wanted to do some small projects in Oregon, and this is kind of like part 2 of my domestic horror series. The first one is called Darlings, and you might be able to see it in film festivals, and it's a retelling of Peter Pan from the parents' perspective. It's the story of what happens when someone steals your children. And so this one's kind of a sequel because this one is about a single mom with her like tween daughter, and it's after Halloween. And they're kind of, just they've eaten the candy, they're in the candy rush, and this little girl comes knocking at the door, and she's way too late for trick-or-treaters. And it goes from the idea of like, kids are okay to kids are very creepy. And this one really just explores what happens when you can't trust your own child, what happens when your child is pulling away from you, how much space do you give them, and what is the influence they're getting outside of your home. So it's like those little fears just like terrifyingly amped up with an urban legend.
Wow. And then did you do a lot of research on that urban legend? Had you heard of that before you started this?
Yeah,
or
I
even
did.
thought of doing
No,
it?
I definitely was looking through urban legends, and I think the BEK legend is really interesting. It's, for those of you who don't know, it's the idea that they come in pairs, little girls, little boys, they're usually about tween age, and they'll just show up at a car, they'll show up at your house, or they'll show up on the sidewalk, and they start asking you for things, admittance into your house, let me into your car, and the victim starts feeling very creepy, like their whole body is telling them, step away from this person. And at first they seem like a helpless little child, and we have an instinct to help that. But then pretty soon there'll be like a glitch, like they'll use the wrong word, like, may I use your telephone device instead of your telephone or your cell phone? And so it's just enough that your monkey brain says, get away from this person, hide from this person. And so we wanted that person to come to
Wow.
her house.
Nice.
And get in.
And we have a couple of them here, Casey and Jay. I understand the creepy feeling. No. Anyways, and so Augustina,
Yeah.
welcome, and you are the lead actress for.
Yeah.
Tell us your part in the movie and a little bit about you.
Well, I'm an actress, obviously. The movie was a lot of fun. The girls that got cast as the evil children were great, phenomenal actresses, just so much fun to work with. For me, like the journey getting creeped out by children is hard. When you're somebody who really likes children, you're somebody who, works with children or whatever, it was difficult for me to like emotionally prep for that because I was supposed to see these children as being evil, and they're not. They're like the
Right.
most adorable little girls in the whole world, but then the visual effects make them really evil. Like you guys will freak out. Anyway, so filming was exhausting. There's lots of knives, there's lots of screaming.
It's true.
Lots of screaming. I came to set the second day of shooting and they were like, oh yeah, we need your scream. We have to do it during the daylight. We're gonna canvas off the front porch and you have to scream. So I went upstairs and prepped for like a half an hour singing stupid show tunes so that I didn't lose my voice for the rest of the day.
Right.
And then screamed into a mic like 8 times.
Wow.
You could hear me down the block.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was crazy.
Can we show some of the pictures that we have for the movie? There's one in particular. This is the one I really love. I love this picture. Now, tell us who's in the scene with you.
So that is, oh my gosh, I'm
Sydney
totally.
Langsford.
Yeah, it's Sydney and I'm brain farting.
And Isabella.
And Isabella.
And of course, Augustina.
And me. And that's the opening of the film. We're sleeping, or not the very opening, but that's kind of the setup of, we're sleeping on the couch. We've just gotten back from trick-or-treating. The backstory is Mom has just recently gone through a divorce and, is trying to keep it together for her kid. And so, that was actually the best shot, because we got to just lay there. The rest of the movie, we're running around and screaming, and I'm going downstairs, and I'm standing outside of doors, and that we just laid there, and the camera just panned.
This is after the candy eating, right?
Yes.
Right. Which our crew loved doing, by the way.
I'm
They were
sure.
very helpful in getting us
I'm
rappers.
sure.
But in that shot, Sydney, who plays our BEK, has come to the house, and she has a deep connection with Isabella's character, Madison. And so she sees her in the house, and she wants to get in. And I think it might be representational of, like, if you have a tween child who has a best friend, like, she's the worst best friend you could have.
Oh, great. And then we have some other pictures also. So tell us about this one. Obviously, that's you.
Yeah.
And then,
That's my arm.
and then
Isn't
is
it
this
cute?
Isabella outside?
No, this is our sweet little trick-or-treater girl, way too late, who just needs to come in and use the phone or the telephone
device.
Yes, absolutely. And at the point that our mom, Liz, gets freaked out about her and really starts feeling like, I should not let this child in, she starts really trying to get in. So she's been asking to get in, and now she's trying to get in.
Ooh. There's something creepy about movies with children like that. Maybe not the boo scary part, but it's just the look.
It's insidious.
Exactly.
It's totally,
exactly.
it creeps up on you. Like, children are largely creepy. I mean, seriously, think about
We have 5 kids at home, so we understand.
They're great and they're wonderful, and I love kids, but they're different than adults, and they process differently, and it makes them just slightly creepy. And this twists and takes that tween bond, tween connection that is really, as a child, the most important thing to you in a lot of ways, and then twists it and takes it to the next level, takes it across the line.
Yeah,
Right.
it goes from, like, being an amoral, child where you want what you want and you don't
Right.
really care so much about what somebody's mom wants, to being an immoral monster.
How great was it to work with these kids?
They were great.
Now, I snuck some, I was looking at the Facebook page.
Yeah.
And all the behind the scene pictures and stuff, and oh my gosh, it looks like it would have been just a blast with these kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good. I got to bond with them really closely. Like, some of the exercises we did in pre-production, we did a lot of sharing, a lot of improvisation work, a lot of trying to connect, because when you're working with children, they don't have the same length and breadth of training that an adult actor has. So you have to find new ways to connect with them. And it was kind of like being the cool babysitter or being like the cool big sister on set. Like, we sat around and they told me all about things I'm not supposed to ever share with anybody.
Which she won't today.
Like what?
It's okay, Sydney and Isabella.
I promised, I gave my word. But, through those activities, we bonded, and then the girls bonded. I mean, it's my understanding that they've become really good friends and
wow.
have continued to hang out. So
That's great.
It's cool. It was really great.
And
They were great.
what else is interesting about this, I think, for the girls, and certainly for us, was this was funded by Cooch Collective, which is a Portland women's film group. And so, like, 90% of our film was women. And so our cinematographer was a woman, I was the director. But just everywhere you look, there was a woman doing a project. And that so rarely happens in cinema. That I think it was a cool experience for them.
And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to make the connection with you, because I thought, man, that is fantastic, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, guys, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at the crew today.
Yeah.
Like, we have very few women.
Right.
In the film industry, women are like 20% of who gets hired. And part of the Cooch Collective mission, we're both members of Cooch Collective, by the way. We're big fans of Cooch Collective.
Awesome.
The Cooch Collective narrative is redefining the female narrative, creating opportunities in front of and behind the camera for women. So the productions are, stories maybe that wouldn't be told necessarily, or when you have a woman behind the lens, you have a woman directing, it creates a different lens. It's a different viewpoint. And so I think it's really important to support that and bolster that and grow that in our community.
I agree.
Yeah.
I use that at home all the time.
And we
What
also
do you
were,
think?
we're also really excited because we had some interns on the set. We had an intern from the Girl Scouts,
Oh,
Kayla,
wow.
and an intern from the Boy Scouts, because we wanted to foster the idea that the next generation can also be making cinema, because it's getting easier and easier to make things
Absolutely.
and put them out there.
In the facility that we're filming in today, Metro East Community Media, children can come and take the classes and learn how to do what these folks are doing today and learn what we're doing.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it. And we'll put some more information on the screen, letting people know how to get involved, including audience members, adults, children, it doesn't matter. And let's go through a couple more pictures. I know we
Sure.
got 2 more pictures from the film. This is a good shot. I like this shot.
Yeah.
Tell us who the photographer was. You mentioned that to me in an email.
Okay. So this is Rebecca Kroll, who did these photographs. And then we also have Melissa Weathermore, who also took photos. And so if you go to our website or our Facebook, you're going to be able to see them. They are so amazing. And we just had great people. Darcy, who did our set, just made everything beautiful.
Wow.
And so it's really eerie, and we
It
hope
is
they're
very
scary.
cool. And then we have one last picture. Okay, this is the money shot.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about this. Is that a knife?
That is a knife.
All right, I'm out of here. You didn't bring it with you today, did you?
And this was actually taken by a cell phone. Like I'm not
Seriously?
really, yeah. Like the composition for a cell phone picture is awesome.
Wow.
So I'm coming down the stairs. I'm listening to the girls plot to kill me.
Oh.
And this is after the BEK has come around and somehow gotten into the house. Like, I don't want to give too much away because I want
Sure.
you guys to all see the film.
Yeah.
Like, it's important. But I'm coming down and I'm literally terrified. And I've grabbed a knife out of the kitchen because I don't know what to do. Like, my daughter has, you know how some people just flip a switch and they're just not there anymore? This is what has happened to my daughter.
And I have 5 kids at home that do that exact same thing.
Did we mention 5 teenage
This
boys?
might be a
Oh,
scary
God.
movie for you.
Yeah, this
well,
is perfect.
this might be, an extension of what we go through every day.
Right. And she's
know?
actually going through this place where first it's take the knife, go protect my daughter. There's somebody in the house. And as she's heading down the stairs, she can hear the BEK plotting to kill her. And so it's the transition from I need to save my daughter to maybe I should go back up the stairs and save myself. But what do you do when you're the parent?
Wow. What's it like writing something like this and then watching it unfold on film before your eyes?
Wow. Writing it is really hard because for me to get to a scary place, I want to take the thing that scares me the most and then just blow it up and make it beautiful. And so this was one of those, like, the tiny fears that you try and hide, the fear of your child. And I think most parents have one moment where they think, that's not right. My child is off a little bit there. And then it goes away quite quickly. And you're like, oh, it's fine. But in this case, it is not fine.
And again, we have 5 teenage boys.
So
There's always one that there's something just not right. And they switch places all the time.
It's like, what's wrong with him?
Does it go with the moon cycles? Like, do
You
they
know,
have
no, it
full
goes
moon?
It goes with what I make for dinner.
Oh.
Generally.
so always mac and cheese at your house?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Mac and cheese. Evil.
No, it's just different. Just different attitudes, different moods, different, whatever.
But Erin, you were asking, sorry.
No,
I just
you're
wanted to
fine.
finish.
Sure.
Directing is very different. Like, you take the script, as a writer, you write the script and you're like, this is what it should look like. But as a director, it's an amazing process to, like, see new things in it. And when the actors come in and they bring stuff and you start talking about all these aspects of it and what they bring in, suddenly you have a completely different film. And that's really powerful. And then when it hits editing, there's a whole new film that's happening there because the editor's eye is on it and you're starting to see things pieced together in little bits and how much we can take in and the subtlety. Like, this movie has a lot of sneaky secret stuff in the background. So,
Ooh,
yeah, you
I
should
can't
look
wait.
for that.
So is it exactly what you thought it would be, if not more?
It's not what I thought it would be, but it is. It will. Yeah, it's more for sure.
I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
I can't wait. And so what was it like for you to, how did you find out about the project?
Well, I'm a member of Kitsch Collective, so, but I auditioned like everyone else. I mean, Elisa saw lots and lots and lots of actresses. I was so honored and so humbled to be cast
Portland
because
has amazing women actresses in this age range, and strangely, there are not enough parts for them. So, for making films,
strangely.
make films for these women because they're awesome.
So as an actress, you know, I went through the auditioning, but I also helped fundraise for the film because I'm a member of Cooch Collective, and that's kind of, I'm the fundraising chair, or I don't know if I am anymore. Anyway, so we raised the money, and then we went through auditions, and the script was so, I think I posted to my Facebook page after the audition, I said, it is so amazing to go into an audition and have everything that you need for emotional prep in the script. Like, I was able in my audition to walk in the door and know exactly what I needed to do because it was all translated in the script. The script was that well written.
Wow.
And that is such a gift as an actress. A lot of times you go in, you have 3 lines. You have no anything, you don't know anything about the project. And I didn't know anything about the project. I literally had my 1 page of script, they're called sides. But the 1 page was so well written, so perfect, so subtle and nuanced that I knew exactly where I needed to be and where I needed to go and how to do that. And it was a gift. Thank you.
That's
Wow,
awesome.
that's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
So I really can't wait. And tell us, who did the voice for the trailer?
Oh, this amazing guy named Aaron. Christine, maybe you know him.
Yes, I do.
I actually, through local film community, was brought to my attention that you needed a voice for the trailer, and I thought, well, I've done that kind of stuff before. Let's just try it. And
We had a
then
lot
they
of,
used it. That's my audition, funny enough. That trailer,
Yeah.
the voice I did, that was the audition. They just used that. I didn't have to redo
we
it or
had
anything.
a lot of great people.
Oh, it's
and
crazy.
We just loved Aaron's sort of movie phone, like scary, informative voice.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And appreciate you letting me do it, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so one of these days, I would love to meet these kids. So maybe after the
yeah.
movie comes out and everything, we'll have
think
you
they-
back on and interview some of these kids, too.
I think they'd love to come on.
So-
And we have the giveaways too for
Oh,
the
yeah.
premiere.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Yes.
So, and then how can people get more information about the Cooch Collective and then Evil Productions?
Well,
Tell us a
Evil-
little bit about that.
Okay, so Evil Club Productions is my
Okay.
production company. And you can just go to evilclubproductions.com and join our mailing list, and we'll send you information about our premiere. We'll send you information about our movies that are currently in film festivals.
Which I joined it last night, by the way.
Oh, good.
Yes, so I'm on the mailing list. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm excited
And
about
then
it.
you can look at I'm Elisa Graybill, and you can look at my Facebook page, and I'm linked to Cooch Collective, and I'll post something, and we'll put it in our newsletter.
Awesome.
And you can also go to coochcollective.org, and you can go to my Facebook page, which
Yeah.
is Augustina Elizabeth, and there's a link to Cooch Collective there as well. So
Awesome.
And see some secret creepy photos of our girls.
I know. I really enjoyed looking at those photos. So, and then this comes out in spring of next year. Do you have a definite date yet, or is that still? Are you still filming right now?
No,
So you're done
well,
filming?
Actually, that's not true. We have one front scene where we're going to have some kids doing some trick or treating in the neighborhood, and that's just the front where we do the information on the film. And so, actually, if you have a nice little kid that you would like to put in a Halloween costume and come out and have some film experience, you can write me about that too. We're going to film that this month.
Jane's interested. Yeah.
So we wanted to get the October foliage in front of our film, and that's the last piece that goes in. And then we're in the middle of editing with an editor from Cooch Collective, Ann Mall, who's pretty fantastic.
Wow.
And so yeah, we'll see it in the new year.
All right, I can't wait. I'm so excited. All right, well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for having
stick
us.
around because at the end of the show, we're going to open the questions up to the audience, and hopefully we'll get some good, juicy questions. So, all right. Well, thanks again, everybody. Thank our guests for being here. Welcome back to Paranormal Crossings' third annual Halloween special. For my next guest, he's a longtime friend, longtime guest of the show, and just an amazing storyteller. His name is Michael P. Jones, and he is the one that runs the Shanghai Tunnels tours. So welcome, Michael Jones. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the Shanghai Tunnels and how you got involved, and what can we expect this time of year from the tours?
Well, I first went to the Shanghai Tunnels when I was 7 years old, and that was quite an experience, and it imprinted me into that environment. I was in a situation where if my parents found out, I would be dead.
Oh, yeah.
Because I went into this underground with a stranger.
Oh, jeez.
And since I was visiting my foster brother's dad, who was like my grandfather, he let me slip out of his hands and went down into the lobby of this old hotel that he was staying in. And a sea captain who really didn't treat me very well. I had known him for maybe a couple of months. Every time Dewey would stay there, this guy would never talk to me. I was so interested in history as that young age. And he would just, snarl at me and just scared me. And Dewey said, well, you're like my grandson. And if I'm renting a room here, you can sit in that lobby and you can talk to anybody you want. And you can ask him questions and drive him crazy. So I did. And this one Sunday morning, people say, wait a minute, Sunday morning? It's over 50 years ago. How do you know it's Sunday morning? Well, you were in downtown Portland, late 1950s. You were there on a Sunday. The church bells you'll never forget.
Oh, wow.
And I guarantee it was a Sunday morning. And little by little, everybody left the lobby because of my questions. These kids are driving us nuts. This old captain is just glaring at me, and he's trying to scare me, and I'm not budging. And I'm staring at him, and he finally kind of got this grin on his face and says, you want to know about the history of Portland? You need to go underground. And he kind of started talking about the Shanghai and the underground network. And I didn't believe the thing he was telling me, because I'd never heard anything like this. And he got ticked off. He says, if you don't believe me, follow me. We'll leave the hotel. And Portland was going through its first urban renewal area, and it was tearing down this beautiful old ethnic neighborhood. And we went into this old building, and I'll never forget, because we had to climb over homeless people sleeping. And he said, whatever you do, don't step on anyone, or we're in trouble. And my little legs I walked right up to him sleeping, just barely slipped over to the other side, and about 4 guys had went over.
Wow.
Then he reaches down through the rubble and he pulls up this trap door. And we walked down what reminded me of stairs on a ship. And we got into the underground, and he points at this old door, and people say, well, where's the light? Half the building's gone, half the floor's gone.
Wow.
And we've got light coming down on us. And that made it really spooky, a lot of shadows and stuff. But I'm there, and I'm thinking, this has got to be a joke. And he points at this door, and he says, you go through that door, and he emphasized, you go straight. Don't make any turns. I'm not coming for you.
Oh, my God.
You go straight, you hit the waterfront. Then you just come back the same way. And I'm thinking to myself, guy's crazy. There's nothing behind that door. Thought it'd be a solid wall. So he gives me a little box of wooden matches. Now I'm nervous, because here I am, 7 years old. He gives me a box of matches, and I'm supposed to act like a grown-up? Wow. I've never touched the match all my life. And I was able to light my first match, and I tell you, my life began to change. I felt like I was grown up. I wasn't 7 years old. He opened the door, and it was an incredible experience, because I'll never forget what I saw. I saw beautiful brick and stone and darkness. The combination of the three was incredible. And then I walked in, and he's talking to me, so I'm not alone. And for some reason, I thought he was going to be following me. Well, he's holding the door up and talking to me, and I'm getting somewhere, but my legs are short. I'm not making that much progress, but I think I am. And the first match went out. Scared me to death. I fumbled around, lit a second match. And then when I lit that second match, I was at home. It's like I had been there before. I wasn't afraid. It was like, wow, this is where I belong. And I walked in, I'm still walking in, he's still talking to me, and that match went out. I was able to light a third match, and that made me feel incredible. I was really grown up, and by this time I knew he wasn't following me, and I didn't need him to follow me because I was grown up at that moment. And then the captain said, "See you around, kid, gotta go." Let that dang door slam shut. Match went out. I was a little kid again. I screamed, ran right back through that door, busting through it, about knocked him over. And that was my first experience.
Wow.
But at that time, when he grabbed me by the bottom of this ladder, and he says, "You got to go back." And I said, "No, not today." I knew Dewey was looking for me, and oh my God, was he?
Oh,
he was so mad. And he finally agreed not to tell my parents, and I was really worried about that. And it wasn't until 15 years ago that my brother Tom, my foster brother, told my parents what I had been doing.
Oh, gosh.
And my mom called me and she said, "We just found out from Tommy what you were doing when you went downtown to see his dad. And if we would have known, you would never have been going downtown." And she's really pissed at me. And then, so every night when I do a tour, guess what I have to do?
Let your mom know.
I have to call my mom.
Yeah.
And she's 92 years old, and
Oh,
you know,
wow.
and I want to call her forever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's how I got started.
And so the part where you first went down, where that door is, that part of the tours, or is that somewhere
No,
totally different?
that's long gone. It sits pretty much across from one of the old fountain. I think it's called Foursquare Fountain. I kind of figured out that's where that building used to stand. So, and there's a place you can go under the waterfall, and I haven't done that for a while, but I used to go back under there and kind of relive that first experience. So
Wow.
about right there.
I don't know about you guys, but Michael Jones is a master storyteller. And I mean, I have heard so many of his stories being on the tours and just stories in private conversations. And going there in my mind is just, it's incredible. And that's what makes the tours so wonderful with you and your volunteers. What's it like for you now, being a grown-up, no matches, and taking people on the tour for the very first time, and you knowing they've never been down there before?
You know, the audience, the people who goes to the underground, they make the tour. They really do. I don't feel I do that much. It's the people who come and they bring an energy to it that makes it easy to give the tour.
Well, I can tell you, Michael, that when we took the tour, what was it, last year or the year before last?
A couple of years ago, 2 years ago.
We took our kids and some of their friends, and I will tell you that our kids to this day still talk about you and your stories and the tour and what they experienced and everything. And for them to remember detail.
And one in particular
Yes.
really captured
Yes.
his attention.
Yes. And he's, you know, they talk about you often, to be honest, in the tour and how much fun that they had. And we will definitely be doing it again really soon.
Well, I don't know, do you guys have teenagers or been around teenagers? So when we go to talk to our teenagers, again, we have 5 at home, this is what it's like. You ask me a question and it's like, When Michael was talking, there was no cell phones out. He cocked his head sideways. And I'm telling you, and not only there, but also the mountain, the village, Living History Village, which we'll have to talk about a little bit here in a minute. But so tell us what it's like down there giving these tours.
Well, I learned from the people coming. I'll tell you that. I always learn something new. But each group is different, and every time I go underground, it's different. Because it seems like the spirits, the ghosts, what do you want to call them, they kind of interact with the energy that this group brings. And it's never, for me, boring. I mean, I don't know what to expect, and I'm not used to this. I'll tell you this, I've been in underground most of my life now, and I I'm not used to this stuff. I mean, I'm not a paranormal investigator. I'm a historian, a folklorist, and the kind of the ghost just kind of goes with the territory. And I try not to be an investigator, although I do what you call investigate. But it's very fascinating. Like starting last, well, it was just after the first of the year, this year. Every time it came through the hole in the wall, and nobody knows this, the first time I'm even talking about this, because I actually write everything down. And I'm very guarded about what I tell people, and when I want to release it, I'll release it. So, but when it started coming through the hole in the wall, over to the left by the stair ladder is a woman wearing black dress. And I saw her every single tour until late March. And then she stopped. And then the last night, I tell you, doing tours every day practically, you kind of lose the track of time. But last night, she was back again.
Wow.
And it's just amazing. Another thing that's really strange, I say I always learn something from people that come through our tours. I did a Japanese group came through last summer, and they kept hanging back by the posts, and they were really slow in the tour. And I'm thinking, this is strange. What is so the architecture is beautiful, the posts are neat, they're all 1880s and old growth timber that you can't find today. But they're looking at the posts, and so then I'm trying to get them to come on. So this is like a long tour because we got to stop at every post. And at the end of the tour on the way back, I turned to this one lady who was always involved, and I said, "What is so interesting in these posts? I know they're old." She goes, "Oh, you don't know?" I said, "No. What should I know?" There are marks on the posts made by a samurai sword. I said, "How do you know this?" She says, "See this lady right here standing next to me? She is the expert at samurai swords in Japan."
What? Wow.
And what she told me that she believed, in order to get these guys to cooperate, they were Shanghaiing, and they would lock it up into a holding cell. She believes that the Shanghaiers had a samurai sword, and to show them that they meant business, they chopped on the posts to let them know they were serious. And she believes they cooperated because they were fearful of what would happen to them.
Wow.
And she says, every old post has the marks. And she showed me the marks.
Now I got to go back and see the posts.
Well, yeah,
No, every tour
definitely.
is going to be like
And
that.
I have not talked about during our tours. There's so much information. I always like to hold things back.
Sure.
So something's new. But, it's a fascinating place. But, I'm not the reason people are there. My volunteers are incredible. They sacrifice a great deal to be part of it. And they actually embrace the underground. It becomes part of their life. I mean, it's so important. And when like one of our volunteers moved away, and she's dying, she goes, "I miss it so much."
Oh, I bet.
So everybody has a major role that they play. I'm just the figurehead.
Right.
I'm
the
just
spokesperson.
Well, you're the driving force that keeps,
Keeps the history alive.
Keeps the history alive, and you keep exploring new segments and new parts and keep pushing it forward.
And it's a never-ending project. From the years that I've known you, I've known that it's a never-ending project down there. Archaeological, obviously paranormal, historical. I mean, there's so much going on down there.
In our new section, we're trying to get a new section open, but I got work parties that keeps getting frightened away.
Really?
They can't handle it. It's just a little too much for them.
That's awesome.
So, I think the spirits are just there reminding us that that they're around, and I think based on some psychic mediums who come through, like June's in the audience and Tish, and when they go on the tours, they remind me that they appreciate what we're doing there. We're telling their stories, their history. And
The level of respect that you have is just amazing. And, you know, that's very important.
So what can we expect for the Halloween paranormal tours that you're doing right now?
It is so active.
Really?
So active, and it's just amazing, and people are leaving with great experiences, and new things are happening that we've never heard. For example, this happened 2 months ago, and then last night it happened again.
Oh.
That in this area that people hear a baby crying, they're now hearing, 2 other guys heard a baby laughing.
Really?
Now that's the second time, 2 months apart.
Oh my gosh.
It happened last night again.
I will tell you, when we went, you know, I had been wanting, as a paranormal investigator, that was like number 1 on my list, was to go to the Shanghai tunnels. And Michael said, okay, but you've got to go on a tour first. So we got 18 to 20 of us together and went down on the tour, and which was absolutely amazing. That was my first time down there. And the feeling, we can talk about it all year, but once you're down there, and you know what I'm talking about because you're a volunteer, but it's a totally different experience. It's not just what you hear, it's what you see, what you smell, what you feel. I mean, it is a whole different ballgame. And you can't help but feel, during the tour and during the stories, feel sorry for the people that had to go through that and we can't even imagine what they went through. The horror, which, you know, a lot of us understand that in death sometimes, when it's traumatic like that, you know, it leaves an imprint.
And how desperate their situation was.
Yeah. And to see the pile of shoes down there, and I'm not going to give too much away because I want you guys to go on the tour. I mean, the tour is absolutely amazing. And if you've never gone, let me give you, we're going to put on the screen how you can get down to the tours and get tickets and find out more information about the Shanghai tunnels. But tell us a little bit real quick, what's the scariest thing that's happened to you as, from the time you were, well, obviously from the time you were 7, you know, that was scary enough. But now, what is the scariest thing? Is it seeing the lady in black?
The scariest things? That's really hard to say. But I would say not scary. We had a new volunteer who was operating the trapdoor. And there's a dummy that falls through, and they have to pull at the right time. And I always like to stand in the wrong spot. And the volunteer pulled the trapdoor, and my shoulder goes. And I thought to myself, thank God I pulled my shoulder, but I don't really remember pulling my shoulder because I didn't know he was pulling the trapdoor at that time.
Oh.
So I said, of course I had to pull it. Then a week later, another volunteer, brand new one, pulled the trapdoor at the wrong time. I was physically pushed out of the way. And 5 other occasions, when someone's going to pull the trapdoor at the wrong time, a lady yells into my right ear, look out, look out. They're going to pull the trapdoor, and and looking out after me. And you know, and I generally don't like to talk about these things because, you know, people say, it's crazy. Get down there, and the more you're around, the more things happen.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. And for me, there's nothing bad that happens down there. It's a reminder that they're around, and we try to, you know, treat them with great respect.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why they looked after you when the trapdoor was pulled.
They're protecting you.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you this, when I wanted to be a volunteer back when I thought I had time, and I was in with a group that you were kind of teaching. We were at the part where the wooden Indian is, and a bunch of us were standing there, and I had just met this one lady who's a volunteer down there, and I hear Aaron in my right ear. And I turn and look, and she's not even looking at me, she's looking at Michael and paying attention like I was. And I thought, what in the world? And I go, And she kind of looks at me like, what is wrong with you? And I said, did you just call me? And she said, no. She's like, ugh, you know? and so I thought, okay, well, and I think I mentioned it later on, but I know the kids that we brought down had some experiences down there. Nothing bad, nothing scary. But yeah, it's a reminder. It's a reminder, and I really believe they're protecting you. And thank you for preserving the history. I think that is so incredibly important. And you're also an advocate for human trafficking
today.
awareness, which is such a big deal, and it's such a big deal today. It's still going on, and so we're going to put on the screen how you can get more information on awareness and what you can do to help spread the awareness so that this doesn't happen. It could happen to your sister, your daughter, your mother, your wife, your kid, whatever. It's terrible. So thank you for standing up and being the voice behind that. And I appreciate that very much. I know you put a lot of work into what you do, and it's not work for you, it's a passion. And you know, everything that you do, not just the awareness and not just the tours, but preserving history is so important. And you also have the Living History Village in Rhododendron, which that's a whole nother show, but it's an amazing village. And so for more information, we'll go ahead and put on the screen how to get in touch with you and get involved. You can be a volunteer and come down and help out and help do the tours. So thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Paranormal Crossings' third annual Halloween party, because it is a party, right? Not just a special. It's a party, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Thank you all for being here. And my last but not least guest is a visitor from another country, maybe another world, I don't know. He's from the Netherlands, Gert Brouwer, and he is with Paranormal Society World.
Yes, that's for sure.
All right, so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
great to be here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So I heard you were here in town, and having the show, I thought, oh my gosh, I got to have him on. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing, because I know you guys are filming us film you.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right.
I'm Gert Brouwer from the Netherlands. I live in Breda. It's hour driving from Amsterdam, and so a few years ago I began Paranormal Society World. I think about 10 years now. And yeah, I'm studying demonology. Like we have a different look. I really recognize it now, like the Americans do it and how the European guys do it. So on the age of my 21, I had my first violent haunting. So I didn't know. My doc came in and he said, you have problems with yourself. And I didn't believe, because I'm always, if I was on my work, I didn't have something. And I ever get back home, I was feeling, there were two hands on my neck, and like if I going to watch in the mirror, I had imprints in it. And
Oh, wow.
and that was the first time I thought, oh, how get I rid of it? I didn't know. I was scared. It feels like I always had problems with breathing. So where I was watching television, I saw a few shows, and I was thinking, okay, if I don't have it at my work, so I thought, yeah, maybe it's using my brains better. And I was looking from what is the difference between my work and being at home. So if I get in home, it's old, it's like the air was different, and yeah, there came some changes more. I saw things, I heard voices whispering in my ear, and on that moment I told myself, okay, I will say to myself, I don't recognize this anymore. So a few months later, it was drifting away.
Wow.
And after that, I was all over in the paranormal. I began researching things, study things, like different religions to understand how the Turkish people do, how people out from the UK thinks, so different ways, and teaching about energies, and that's how I become this team, Paranormal Society World.
Is there a huge difference between Americans, the way Americans do it, and the way people, Europeans do it?
Let me say, our team is different in research. If I see the guys from Oregon Paranormal, if I hear their story, they are on the same road. And many times, we go in the Netherlands in houses, it's more, people have medicine or personal problems there, and they think they can blame it on paranormal. So, there are differences. Like hauntings, for us, a haunting is really like, we think about demons, and if I come here, oh shit, this is different. These guys say, okay, if there's walking someone, it's haunted. So we must think a different way. And sometimes it's, make the choices from, okay, you mean that, I mean this. So there are a few differences between it.
Wow, that would be incredible just seeing the differences in the two countries and how they do things.
Yeah.
And what were you coming here for? You had an event on the 14th, I think, is it Gold Rush?
I was at the Coffee Rush,
Coffee Rush.
showing people that you can look in a different way. I'm not so believer in mediums. I have my senses, okay, they work, but I'm working with a neuropsychologist, and I teach a lot to use my brains, and if I get in a hyper-focus, I can see things too. So it's in a different way I use my senses or my hyper-focus.
How long did it take you to develop that?
It takes a few years.
A few years,
I'm
bet.
busy with it now with a guy for 2 years.
Wow, that's incredible. And so, do you have a website that we can go to?
Yeah, you can go to www.paranormalsocietyworld.com.
Awesome. And then we can learn more about you, more about your team.
Yeah, you can read it there.
And the things the different ways of investigating that you...
Yeah, there's a translate button, so you can read it. And
I keep forgetting, we got to translate.
Can I ask you a question? When you first started speaking, you said that you felt hands around your throat.
Yes.
So, were you being attacked or possessed, or
I don't.
How do you word that from your country?
For me, it isn't possessed, because if I was possessed, it will happen on my work too.
Okay.
It was continually. When I get in my front door, I was being attacked.
Oh, so you had something in your home?
Yeah, I've got something.
I
had something in my home.
You had something in your home. Is that gone now?
Or
is it just not bothering you anymore?
I don't know. It don't bothers me. I don't live there I lived there until 2002, and I left my house and went to Rosendale. It's a town after that, and then in 2010 I came to Breda in the Netherlands. So I moved a few times.
So you don't believe it followed you or anything?
No, it didn't follow me. I was thinking it stays at home there.
Oh, okay.
So did you ever find out what that was?
Yeah, I don't know. I get too many questions about it. Then I think if I say here it's a demon, it was like that because the things he did. I get crazy things like hoaxes, things that not happen. I saw that you really creepy spiders one of times, and I put a light on. There's nothing.
Oh, wow.
So like those crazy things, that whispering, it's
so
like...
it was causing you hallucinations?
Yes,
Oh my
I
God.
get them.
Okay.
All right, so for us to get a hold of you one more time, and we're going to flash that on the screen.
Okay, paranormalsocietyworld.com.
Paranormalsocietyworld.com. Let's thank Gert for being here with us, all the way from the Netherlands.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us on this third annual Halloween special of Paranormal Crossings. We're going to open the audience up for questions. So those of you that have questions, feel free to come up to the podium over here and ask a question. Who's first? Anyone? 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 Nobody has questions? What?